it's Shay.
Hey guys, it's Marissa, and I am one of the 2016 Vegan Travel
Around the World contest winners.
We are here going to answer a couple questions about the trip. We were crying, overly excited, just kind of in disbelief. Even though we had already been planning the trip as if we'd won, it was still super surreal to know that we were about to travel the world, especially when I had never even left the country at that point. So it was all brand new.
So leaving Portland was weird. I said goodbye to my family and knowing I would say goodbye to my friends for all of 2016. But I was so excited and I had no idea what was coming, but I was ready no matter what.
Shay met me in Baltimore. We got to the airport and I was more than ready at that point. And then we landed in Iceland and I was like, this is my very first foreign country ever.
London, I would say, had the most options for vegan food.
London and Sydney, just mostly because not only did they have a lot of regular vegan food places and vegan options, but they also had a lot of the like specialty vegan foods, so we could find, you know, vegan burgers, vegan pulled pork, vegan cheesecake. My favorite fully vegan places, Cookies and Scream in London for sure, and I also really loved Cafe Vinyl in Iceland. Those are both kind of bakeries, but maybe I'm just a big dessert person.
Meringue in Stockholm, Sweden, just because that was my first ever multiple course vegan, like gourmet meal. I couldn't even believe that some of the stuff we were eating was vegan. It's so cool.
Speedo's Cafe in Australia, super low key on the beach in Bondi, but they have the best vegan pancakes I've ever had in my entire life. I said that the second that I tasted them.
The place I probably struggled the most in terms of finding vegan-friendly anything was China. I went to Shanghai and I would say the language barrier was a huge factor in this.
Definitely Croatia. I felt like we did a lot of grocery eating. And then Italy actually was our very first challenge. Although Italy is one of my favorite places that we did visit, there weren't a lot of actual vegan restaurants.
Oceania and Europe versus Southeast Asia is a little bit different because Southeast Asia, we found that it was actually cheaper to eat out than it was to buy groceries. And you can buy fruit and stuff and still eat, you know, a whole food, healthy diet in Southeast Asia, like Thailand and tropical places.
So a lot of times to save money while traveling, we would do our own personal grocery shopping. It's a really good way to save money in a lot of the more expensive countries in Europe. Little tiny snack things that you can just easily have on hand, especially on things like trains and ferries where you have a bit more space. Sometimes we would make sandwiches, rice cakes with peanut butter or hummus.
I'm sticking to rice, beans, tomato sauce, or oatmeal in the morning. It's, you know, easier than eating out 3-4 times a day. So personally, for our health and maintaining that for 7 months, eating in is just a smart option, so having a kitchen is really important.
We usually try to learn the names of the allergens in the language of where we were, so that way we could specifically spot those because they were usually bolded on the labels. So
some things have vegan labels all around the world, but obviously, like even in America, not everything that's vegan is labeled vegan. On Google Translate, there's the camera setting that you can hover it over the ingredients list and figure out what things say. Great websites that we ended up using were Hostelworld, Airbnb. I never personally couch surfed, but I've heard amazing experiences from it from other travelers.
I think a hostel is a really cool way to travel because then you get to meet more people while you're traveling. They usually have suggestions on things to do at the reception in hostels. They usually are pretty cool with travelers and helping you out, making your plans. It's really great to just put out there on Facebook or to your family members where you're going, because you never know who has a family friend or a cousin or a great aunt who lives somewhere around the world where you're going to have a couch that you can crash on.
Airbnbs are great. We've done entire spaces and private rooms. Having a host is super cool to be able to get that same experience as somebody who's a local that can show you around or give you tips. It's also sometimes cheaper doing that. Hostels are the best thing about traveling, and they're also sometimes the sketchiest thing about traveling.
We always tried to book a hostel that had above an 8 rating out of 10. So we would just like read the reviews, see how the safety was, the cleanliness, things like that, to be able to determine if that's a place that we wanted to stay.
Kitchens ended up being a great perk that you miss when you don't have one.
All of them had Wi-Fi. That's kind of always a top priority for us, to make sure that we have Wi-Fi, we have some way to connect to the outer world, considering we never really had SIM cards on the trip. It's really fun to hold meetups with different vegans around the world. A lot of times we would just post to Instagram and say, hey guys, we're in London and we're gonna hold a meetup. And we would just see what kind of response we would get, and then we would organize a place to meet up and just kind of chat, have a little picnic in the park, and meet people from around the world who share similar interests.
Meeting people is the reason I travel. I love meeting people. I love hearing people's stories. I love, starting to go on a tangent with somebody about a country and then going to a different country and hearing their story and realizing that I want to go there too, and I didn't have a plan for where I wanted to go next, so give me ideas and tell me what your favorite things were.
Some of the times, some of those people we'd meet at the meetups would be so kind to show us around, show us some of their favorite places, give us recommendations of where to go, and I thought that was really cool because it's more of a local and more authentic way of finding the best vegan places in that area. One of my all-time favorite activities that we did throughout the entire trip was hiking throughout the 5 towns of Cinque Terre. It was just such a beautiful hike, and it was also really good to just get out there and get moving after a long day of traveling the day before.
Riding ATVs on Greek islands, riding scooters in the flooded streets of Kopangan in Thailand. I think ziplining and doing the activities park in Croatia and staying at the only tree house in all of Croatia was super cool. In Sweden, taking the ferry through the archipelago was just beautiful. It was nothing like I expected, so everything was just super surreal. Driving around Iceland, just because we were driving around Iceland and that's a cool thing to do. Taking a cooking class in Thailand, an authentic cooking class. Surfing in Bali, that was fun.
Hands down, my favorite moment of the entire trip was watching Mamma Mia on the cliffs of Fira in Santorini. That was just such a magical day. It was really fun to just get to interact with the animals in different cultures, and also just get to see how there are companies and foundations all around the world working to better the animal welfare and better what's going on in their area. So for instance, places like Amsterdam, they have a big problem with stray cats, so they had the cat boat to help rescue cats there. But then there are places like Santorini where they have really big issues with the donkeys carrying up tourist bags up the hill, so they rescued some donkeys.
I loved Sawa, which was in Santorini. Take an ATV to the middle of the island, which is a 10-minute ride, fun ride on an ATV. You get to a beautiful place that's taking care of the animals that are being harmed in that touristy area. Look at the ocean on one side and you look at the mountains on another side, and you see the impact of everything that's happening.
The first thing that we did to make sure that we were budgeting our money safely was giving ourselves a daily allowance for what we were allowed to spend, including our accommodation. Sometimes we'd go over that, sometimes we'd go under that, and that could carry over if we wanted it to, but generally we had a good idea every single day on how much we were allowed to spend.
I think transportation is the thing that will get you the most. Once you're in Europe, it's decently cheap to fly around or train around or bus around. Budget airlines, but budget airlines will also try and get you with a lot of other things like small bag sizes or really low baggage weight, or nothing is free on the flight, including water. Going with the flow seems to be the cheapest option for us.
First main challenge that we faced was that we got our bags raided in a hostel in Germany, and we had everything locked up in our bags, but unfortunately we didn't have them in a locker at the time because there weren't lockers actually in our room. Make sure that there are lockers in your hostel, because even if you have your bag locked up, someone can rip it open with scissors. and make light of the situation. It happened. Luckily, nothing of ours got stolen, and if something did get stolen, that's kind of what your backup fund is for, to kind of help you in those unfortunate situations. Then the second challenge that we faced was that we actually had someone that we met in Croatia try to break into our hotel balcony at 2 in the morning. So we woke up and had a stranger at our balcony door, and we freaked out. So just to be safe, try not to tell anyone your exact specific location.
Keep your safety in mind, keep your belongings safe, things that, you shouldn't have to do, but sometimes you do. Traveling is the best way to invest all the money that you earn doing whatever else that gets you there, because there's nothing like it. There are so many textbooks I've read in class that couldn't explain the things that I've seen.
I really want to go back to Italy. I really want to make it my mission to learn Italian, so I would love to go back and learn Italian in Italy. And I just fell in love with their country. Also Greece, because it's beautiful. And I would love to go back to Thailand to visit the islands, because when we were there the weather wasn't that great, so it'd be cool to see Thailand whenever it's really, really nice outside.
Somewhere that I would go back to is Sweden. I loved it. Bali, loved it. And Thailand.
Some places that we didn't go that I really, really wish that we had gone, and I really hope I get to go to in the future. First being South Africa. That was originally on our itinerary, it just became a little too expensive to get there. Also Vietnam, I just think that's a really cool culture that I want to explore. And the Philippines, I have family there, and I really want to see how they live. I really want to see their local culture.
Somewhere I would love to go that I didn't get to go to this time that I was hoping I could have was Switzerland, Burma or Myanmar. I met a lot of people who went there that absolutely loved it. Egypt, maybe as a solo traveler, I don't know if that's the best thing, but hearing other people's experiences will help me decide if I want to do that. I was always really looking forward to doing solo traveling. It's something I've always wanted to do just because I've heard amazing things about it from other solo travelers that we've come across, or just people who have solo traveled that I know. I heard it's an amazing growing experience, and I wanted that out of this trip, and I feel like I got so much of that after I went solo. It forces you to do things and say yes to things, and at my birthday, alone, solo traveling in Korea, and I had the best birthday ever. People are more willing to talk to you, I feel like. People are so welcoming, so kind. They understand, especially if they're other solo travelers, which you'll find so many if you're solo as well. You'll come across some people that have so many similarities to you, the amazing people you'll meet, the amazing places you'll see. Thank you all so much. It has been a blast, and I hope to see you around the world sometime this year.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed listening to some of the stories from my trip around the world, and I hope maybe some of these tips help you when planning your next travel adventure. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up and comment down below if you have any questions. Be sure to subscribe so you know when Vegan Travel puts out new videos. Bye!
Bye!